فاصبر صبرا جميلا.
Last week we were discussing this briefly and going over some of the important points regarding Sujood as-Sahu and how it's mandatory for every single Muslim to have basic knowledge of these issues. Every single Muslim is supposed to have basic knowledge and basic understanding of these simple day-to-day issues. The Salah is the first thing that the people will be asked about on the Day of Judgment regarding their deeds, as is stated in the hadith reported from the Prophet ﷺ. As far as regarding the rights among the people, then the hadith clearly tells us it will be blood, dima, blood, murder, okay, killing people, taking someone's life. And as far as regarding the rights of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then the first thing that the people will be asked and questioned about is the Salah. So it only makes sense. It's basic mathematics, nothing more. If the Salah is the first deed Allah is going to ask me about, then that proves that Salah is the most important physical act of worship. It's the most important thing that I can do in my 24 hours that Allah has given me. And if it's the most important act of worship, then it's only common sense, 1 + 1, mathematical equation, I should know the most about the Salah. Salah, its rulings, its ins, its outs, its do's and its don'ts. And indeed, it is insufficient for me to practice Islam and deal with the rulings of the most important thing. The first thing I want to be asked about on Yawm al-Qiyamah, based off of cultural education. Because most of us didn't receive a proper Islamic education when it came to these things in our culture. Let alone, even if we got the proper education, was it the actual correct information? And we all live in the United States of America. So we see brothers from different ethnicities, different backgrounds, different countries, different dialects, different skin complexions, different ways of dressing, different foods. So obviously there's diversity. He prays with his hands to his side. And yeah, just now. Some brothers, they pray with their hands to their side. And we're talking about down the steps. Down the steps, Salat al-Maghrib. Brother prays with his hands to his side. I come from a country in which I pray with my hands, my right hand on my left, beneath my navel. Another on the navel. A third above the navel. A fourth on the chest. So if I see Muslims doing different things, then it has to be a reason why they're doing some certain different things. The first scenario is all of these positions are permissible. And we're all doing something which is right, which is correct. The second scenario is all of these positions are not permissible. And it's a possibility that the brother with his hands to his side is right and the brother with his hands on his chest is wrong. There's a possibility those who have it beneath the navel are correct and those who have it on the chest are incorrect. It's a possibility. How do I know? How do I rule out? How do I X out the possibility of my prayer being right or wrong, correct or incorrect, valid or invalid, accepted by Allah or not? Unless I learn and I take the time to take the basic, necessary, fundamental, rudimentary principles of the Salah. And it's insufficient for me to suffice myself with my cultural teachings because I'm not in my country. I'm in Brooklyn, New York City. Muslims are doing different things. So now I have to be sure. If I was in my original country, it would be totally different. This is what all of the ulama there practice. This is all in the madrasa, the madaris. But now it's different. I'm experiencing different Muslims. So now I have to think critically now. Just like how you made a living in your original country is not like how you make a living in Brooklyn, New York. You learn new things, you take new things, you do new things. This was good there, it is not good in Bed-Stuy. And what do? Except change, you adapt, you adjust. And the same has to apply to your way of thinking Islamically. Maybe, just maybe, how I was taught to make the Salah wasn't so right in my country. Just maybe. And I won't know that until I read, until I listen, until I study, until I benefit myself. So the Muslims have many things that they have to study, many things they have to deal with, many things that we need to fix, we need to establish, let alone fix. Things that we haven't established, that haven't been built, let alone buildings that need to be revamped, looked into. Maintenance is needed on this building that's been there for 20 years. This building has been there for 30 years, 40 years, 50 years. This Islamic building has been there. When was the last time you cleaned it? When was the last time you checked the walls, the roofs, the leaks, the this and that? It needs maintenance. needs maintenance, let alone certain things that haven't been built. So the salah is the most important of these buildings. The salah, the thing that you do every day, the thing that you do several times a day, the thing that no Muslim is excluded from performing. Every Muslim doesn't pay zakat. Many Muslims, depending on where you are, most Muslims in some parts, some regions are poor, they don't pay zakat. They don't have no money that's saved up, thousands of dollars in the bank. Every Muslim doesn't make Hajj. Some Muslims don't have the money to make Hajj. Thousands of dollars, 8,000, 10,000, 12,000. Every Muslim can't make Hajj. Every Muslim isn't physically able to make Hajj. Every Muslim doesn't fast. Some women breastfeed. Some women are pregnant. Some brothers are sick. Every Muslim doesn't go out and seek ilm. Every Muslim doesn't go out and fight jihad in Allah's cause. Every Muslim isn't a politician. But every single Muslim must make the salah. No one is exempt from prayer. The young, the old, the sick, the weak, the rich, the light and the dark. So if the salah is this basic importance, this staple importance, it only makes sense for me to give most of my attention, most of my time to studying and making sure and being sure that my salah, first and foremost, is correct. Secondly, hopefully it's pleasing to Allah, and bi'idhnillah, by the permission of Him subhanahu wa ta'ala, I hope that Allah will accept it from me. And if you don't do this, and if this is not your attitude, if this is not your approach, something is seriously wrong. Studying this, reading that, in this class, in this halaqah, this brother has this class, this brother has that class, it's good, it's beneficial, inshaAllah, if it's beneficial knowledge being taught. Because many classes are not based off of beneficial knowledge. Many classes just kalam fadi, farigh, just speech, just talking, or whatever you're talking about, unfortunately. But the classes that are beneficial, the halaqat that are beneficial are good and they're needed. But the most important thing is the salah. Learning the salah properly and correctly. Especially living in 2017, in which there's so many reasons and so many things which make you forget, which make you busy, which make you stressed, which preoccupy your mind. Constant mental engagement. In other words, the forgetfulness and the heedlessness in 2017 could possibly be much more than how it was in the time of the early Muslims, when life was so simple and so slow. Everybody understand this? The amount of stress, the speed, the pace, especially when you start talking about New York City. It's so fast. It never sleeps, back and forth, this and that. So when you say Allahu Akbar, you make salah, it's more likely for you to what? Something to be on your mind. For you to be thinking about where you came from, where you're going, who you got to pick up, the client is paging me, this and that. So you need to be even more focused. And not only do you have to have more focus and more mental sharpness, but you have to know how to fix your salah if something happens of mistake because of forgetfulness. So this is of paramount importance. Sujood as-Sahu.